In a dazzling world of opulent facades and hidden sorrows, Alexander, a self-made millionaire, confronts his solitary existence. Haunted by the memories of his lost love, Celeste, his heart stirs with forbidden hope and desire. Their past, rich in passion and pain, ignites a journey of profound redemption, romance, and transformation. In a city of endless lights and ceaseless ambition, where every street corner whispered the promise of dreams realized, there existed an unspoken magic that few ever truly noticed. It was in this realm of glittering facades and hurried footsteps that Alexander Reed first encountered Celeste, a meeting that would mark the beginning of a romance destined to challenge both fate and fortune. Alexander was renowned for his steely resolve and unwavering drive, qualities that had built his empire brick by brick. Every decision was calculated, every gesture measured. Yet beneath that composed exterior lay a man who longed for something more, a tender vulnerability he rarely allowed himself to feel. One quiet autumn afternoon, while seeking refuge from the relentless pace of boardroom battles in the comforting embrace of a quaint, old bookshop, he found himself drawn to a secluded corner where the scent of worn pages and whispered stories filled the air. There, amid the soft rustling of paper and the gentle murmur of classical music in the background, stood Celeste. Her presence was like a secret melody, soft yet powerful, a stark contrast to the harsh clamour of his usual world. She was arranging a small collection of poetry on a shelf, her delicate fingers caressing each spine with care, as though every book held a fragment of her own fragile heart. In that suspended moment, as shafts of golden light filtered through the dusty windows, their eyes met. For Alexander, it was as if time had stilled, the world outside blurred into insignificance, and in her gaze he recognized a depth of emotion long forgotten. Celeste's eyes shone with a blend of wistfulness and quiet strength, a reflection of a soul that had known both profound beauty and heart-wrenching sorrow. There was an unspoken allure in the way she moved, graceful yet unassuming, carrying with her an air of mystery that beckoned him closer. Their initial exchange was silent, a mutual recognition of something precious and elusive, an uncharted territory of passion waiting to be explored. In the days that followed, fate conspired to weave their paths together. Alexander found himself returning to that little bookshop time and again, each visit brimming with anticipation. With every stolen glance across the room and every accidental touch as they reached for the same beloved novel, the attraction between them deepened. What began as a subtle flutter in his chest soon blossomed into a magnetic pull, a force defying the rigid boundaries of his meticulously ordered life. One rainy afternoon, as the soft patter of raindrops composed a soothing symphony against the window panes, Alexander finally mustered the courage to speak. In the quiet intimacy of a secluded corner of the shop, he approached Celeste with a gentle smile. "I couldn't help but notice how beautifully you care for these stories," he said softly, his voice betraying a hint of vulnerability he had never revealed before. Celeste looked up, her eyes filled with a mix of surprise and cautious delight. "Stories have a way of healing us," she replied, her voice like a tender lullaby. In that instant, a bridge of understanding was formed, a delicate connection built on the shared language of art, longing, and the unspoken promise of hope. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, each word a brushstroke painting a picture of hidden dreams and long-held secrets. Alexander spoke of his relentless pursuit of success, a life defined by numbers and deadlines that had left him yearning for genuine connection. Celeste, in turn, revealed her own quiet rebellions, the small acts of defiance that had kept her spirit alive in a world too often indifferent to her inner truth. As the hours slipped by unnoticed, the bookshop transformed into a cocoon of warmth and possibility. Outside, the world remained a blur of rain and restless energy. Inside, every exchanged word and shared smile deepened the magnetism between them. In Celeste's presence, Alexander discovered a forgotten part of himself, a tender, unguarded heart that longed not for success but for meaning, for connection, and for a love as profound as it was transformative. In the soft twilight that followed their first encounter, Alexander began to see the world anew. The city's relentless pace slowed. Every moment shimmered with a quiet, almost reverent beauty. Walks along serene, rain-washed streets became opportunities to relive that first encounter. A chance to remember the subtle grace of Celeste's laughter and the way her eyes glimmered with unspoken dreams. They soon found themselves meeting not by chance, but through a shared desire to understand the depths of one another's soul. In a small hidden cafe tucked away from the clamour of the city, their conversation took on the cadence of a delicate waltz. Every sip of warm coffee and every pause between sentences was filled with charged silence, a language of glances and tender gestures conveying more than words ever could. Alexander often caught himself silently admiring the curve of Celeste's smile or the thoughtful tilt of her head as she listened intently. He was drawn not only to her beauty, but to the poignant blend of strength and vulnerability that defined her. There was a raw honesty in the way she recounted her past, a heartache tempered with gentle wisdom. With every revelation, the distance between them diminished, replaced by an intimacy that transcended the superficial trappings of their disparate worlds. For Celeste, Alexander was a revelation, a man whose external success belied the quiet torment of a soul yearning for something real. His openness, his willingness to expose his inner doubts and fears, broke through the walls she had built to shield herself from a judgmental world. In his presence, she found a sanctuary where her own scars were not seen as imperfections, but as the roadmap of a life rich with lessons and resilience. One evening, as the city basked in the soft glow of twilight, Alexander and Celeste found themselves on a secluded rooftop garden overlooking the urban expanse. The sky was a tapestry of indigo and gold, and the distant hum of the city provided a gentle background to their unfolding story. Here, amidst the whispering breeze and the delicate fragrance of night-blooming jasmine, the air was thick with anticipation. They sat side by side on a weathered bench, the silence between them laden with unspoken promises. Alexander's hand, trembling ever so slightly, reached out to brush a stray lock of hair from Celeste's face. The touch was gentle, a tentative caress that spoke of both reverence and desire. For a moment, time ceased its relentless march, and all that existed was the tender warmth of that contact. Celeste's eyes closed as she savoured the sensation, a single tear of unbidden joy glistening in the fading light. "It's moments like these," Alexander whispered, his voice raw with emotion, "that make me wonder how I ever lived without truly feeling anything at all." His confession was not one of grand declarations or poetic vows, but a simple truth, a recognition of the emptiness that had haunted him until this very moment. Celeste opened her eyes slowly, meeting his gaze with a mixture of wonder and quiet understanding. "Sometimes," she replied softly, "it takes the right person to awaken the soul from its slumber. I've spent so long hiding my true self, fearing the judgment of a world that values appearances over the heart's sincerity. But with you, I feel seen, truly seen." In that fragile space between dusk and nightfall, their hearts spoke in a language older than time. The attraction they shared was not merely physical, it was an alchemy of souls, a blending of past sorrows and future hopes that rendered them both complete. Each heartbeat, each shared breath, became a silent promise of a future where love could heal the deepest wounds. As the stars began to pepper the velvet sky, A quiet resolve settled over them. Both Alexander and Celeste sensed that their meeting was no accident, but the beginning of a transformative journey, a chance to rewrite the narratives of their lives, to move beyond the confines of pain and loss, and to embrace the full spectrum of what it meant to love and be loved. In the days that followed, every encounter carried the weight of this newfound promise. Alexander's once sterile world of boardrooms and business deals now pulsed with an undercurrent of passion and possibility. And Celeste, with her tender spirit and resilient hope, found herself daring to dream again. A dream of a life where love was not a fleeting moment, but a constant, nurturing presence. Every shared laugh, every lingering touch, and every whispered word deepened their connection. They explored the hidden corners of the city, from secret gardens to quiet cafes, each setting serving as a canvas on which their emotions were painted in vivid hues. Their romance was a gentle rebellion against the harshness of a world that had once left them feeling invisible. It was a declaration that even in the midst of loss and solitude, the human heart could rediscover its capacity to love without bounds. For Alexander, Celeste was the unexpected melody in a life long dominated by the cacophony of success. For Celeste, Alexander was the embodiment of hope, a man willing to risk everything to embrace the vulnerability of true connection. And in the alchemy of their shared moments, a powerful truth emerged, that love, in all its complexities and contradictions, was the one treasure that could transform even the most broken of souls. Thus, the shimmering beginnings of their story were set, a delicate interplay of chance encounters, whispered confessions, and a deep, irresistible attraction that promised to change both of their lives forever. In that enchanted space between longing and fulfillment, Alexander and Celeste took the first brave steps on a path toward healing, passion, and the rediscovery of a love that had once been nearly forgotten. In the dazzling light of high-rise offices and extravagant galas, Alexander Reed's world was one of unmatched opulence. His days were meticulously orchestrated, each minute packed with board meetings, business decisions, and the ceaseless hum of prosperity. From the outside, his life sparkled with success, a mosaic of luxury cars, designer suits, and a penthouse that overlooked a city pulsing with life. Yet beneath the glimmer of wealth lay a profound solitude that even the most extravagant surroundings could not dispel. Every morning Alexander awoke in a bedroom draped with silk and illuminated by the soft glow of sunrise through expansive windows. The panoramic view of the city's skyline should have been a source of inspiration. Instead, it served as a constant reminder of an emptiness he could neither fill nor ignore. His mansion, filled with priceless art and antiques, was a gallery of human achievement. However, in the quiet moments before the day began, the silence echoed back to him like a hollow refrain. He would stand by the floor-to-ceiling windows, his reflection merging with the sprawling urban landscape. In that reflective glass, the millionaire saw not just a man of power and success, but also someone who had lost a part of his soul. Memories of tender moments with Celeste, those stolen glances, the gentle brush of her hand, the quiet promises whispered in secret corners, drifted into his mind, soft as the first notes of a long-forgotten melody. These recollections, though bittersweet, were a stark contrast to the cold precision of his daily routines. In the midst of glittering parties and influential gatherings, Alexander often found himself isolated amid the crowd. Surrounded by admirers and sycophants, he felt like a lone figure trapped behind an impenetrable facade. Every congratulatory smile and every firm handshake seemed to accentuate a truth he could no longer escape. The life he had built was a fortress of success, yet it was also a prison of solitude. Late at night, when the city's clamour had dimmed to a distant murmur, he would wander through the silent corridors of his mansion. In his private study, the walls were adorned with awards and accolades, silent testaments to his achievements. Yet the most cherished item was an old, worn photograph of Celeste. It rested in a silver frame, its edges softened by time. Staring at her image, he was overcome by a cascade of emotions. Regret for the lost years, longing for the warmth that had once filled his heart, and a painful awareness that even all his riches could not replace the love he had let slip away. Alexander's world was one of calculated perfection. Every event he attended was choreographed down to the finest detail. Lavish dinner parties in grand ballrooms, exquisite banquets under glittering chandeliers, and soirees where every word was measured. All these external displays were meant to reaffirm his success. Yet behind the scenes, in the solitude of his own thoughts, he questioned the meaning of it all. At one such event, amidst the soft murmur of polite conversation and the clinking of crystal glasses, Alexander caught himself glancing over at a quiet corner of the room. There, a lone violinist played a melancholic tune that seemed to echo the hidden sorrow in his heart. The music stirred memories of Celeste, their shared laughter, the secret smiles exchanged during quiet moments, and the unspoken understanding that had drawn them together. For a brief moment, the opulent ballroom faded away, replaced by the intimate world of their past, where each note carried the weight of promises once made. Despite his success, Alexander's heart ached for a connection that transcended the superficial trappings of wealth. The luxurious lifestyle, though enviable, was a series of rehearsed performances that left little room for genuine intimacy. The routines he once believed would bring fulfillment had become a series of empty rituals. In the sanctuary of his solitude, he confronted the painful truth. All the money and accolades could never fill the void left by a love that had once been his guiding light. He would often reminisce about the simple moments with Celeste, a shared cup of tea on a rainy afternoon, the warmth of her hand resting in his, the softness of her voice as she recounted her dreams and fears. Those moments, though fleeting, had imparted a depth to life that no amount of success could replicate. Her presence had been a balm to his relentless ambition, a reminder that the human heart craved connection more than conquest. In the solitude of his luxurious apartment, Alexander began to feel the stirrings of change. The emptiness that had long haunted him slowly gave way to a deep, almost imperceptible yearning, a call to rediscover the passion and vulnerability he had long suppressed. Late at night, as the city slept beneath a blanket of stars, he would sit in the quiet of his study, his thoughts turning to the past and the possibility of redemption. He recalled how, in the brief moments of intimacy they had shared, Celeste's eyes had shone with a light that made the world seem kinder, the future more promising. It was not merely the memory of her beauty that moved him, but the echo of her spirit, a spirit that had been resilient, tender, and infinitely understanding. The realization that his heart still beat for her, despite the years and the distance, sparked a quiet but powerful resolve. Alexander knew that the path to mending his fractured soul lay in bridging the chasm between the man he had become and the man he once was. The lavish facades and opulent surroundings could no longer mask the deep yearning for something real. His journey was evolving into one of introspection, where every luxurious comfort was a reminder of the cost of neglecting his own emotional well-being. In the midst of solitude, romance often hides in the unlikeliest of places. For Alexander, the romance was no longer found in the glitz of extravagant events, but in the quiet moments of self-reflection and the hope that whispered through the silence of his gilded halls. It was a romance defined by the interplay of memory and longing, where every recollection of Celeste was imbued with a gentle, aching beauty. As he began to confront his inner emptiness, Alexander allowed himself to dream again. In the soft glow of candlelight that illuminated his study, he penned long-forgotten thoughts in a leather-bound journal. His words, raw and unfiltered, chronicled not the triumphs of a self-made empire, but the tender vulnerability of a heart that yearned to feel deeply once more. Each entry was a silent testament to the love he had lost, and the love he hoped to find again. In those intimate moments with his own thoughts, the millionaire began to see that the true measure of success was not in wealth or accolades, but in the capacity to love and be loved. The emptiness that had once defined his luxurious existence slowly transformed into a canvas upon which he could paint the colours of hope, passion, and renewal. Thus, amidst the gilded walls and the dazzling lights of his high-flying world, Alexander Reed's heart continued its quiet struggle, a battle between the hollow perfection of wealth and the profound, unyielding desire for genuine connection. His life, filled with every material luxury imaginable, remained shadowed by the deep, unspoken longing for the tenderness of a love that had the power to fill even the deepest void. And in this delicate tension between external splendor and internal yearning, the seeds of transformation were quietly sown, promising a future where true romance could bloom once again. In the quiet recesses of his vast mansion, where even the soft hum of luxury could not drown out the sound of solitude, Alexander began to sense that the key to healing lay buried in memories he had long tried to forget. It started with a simple discovery, a leather-bound journal tucked away in an old, dust-covered box in the attic. As he ran his fingers along its worn cover, he felt an inexplicable pull, as though the book itself was calling him back to a time when life had been painted in softer hues. With a trembling reverence, Alexander opened the journal. It was Celeste's diary, its pages yellowed with time yet filled with the warmth of a bygone era. The ink, though faded, danced with the emotions of a woman who had once believed in the magic of their love. Each entry was a confession, a secret shared only with the silent night. As he read her delicate script, he could almost hear her voice, soft and musical, whispering the joys and sorrows of their past. The words leaped off the page, memories of whispered promises under starlit skies, of laughter shared over steaming cups of tea in a cozy kitchen, and of moments when time had stopped just to let them savor the beauty of a fleeting embrace. Celeste had poured her heart into these pages, revealing the dreams she had once nurtured and the pain of a love that had been lost amidst the relentless pursuit of success. Each line Alexander read stirred emotions he had long kept at bay. Her words painted vivid pictures of days when every touch felt electric and every glance held a silent promise of forever. He remembered how her eyes would light up when she spoke of art and poetry, how her smile could transform even the darkest of afternoons into a celebration of life. Yet, intertwined with these memories was an undercurrent of sorrow, the anguish of feeling invisible in a world that prized glitter over genuine connection. As he turned each fragile page, a torrent of emotions overwhelmed him. Regret, longing, and a deep-seated desire to recapture that lost intimacy surged within him. He recalled the countless moments when Celeste's gentle presence had been his sanctuary, a tender reprieve from the cold, calculated demands of his business empire. The diary was more than a collection of memories. It was a bridge back to the part of himself that had yearned for love beyond the material, a part he now desperately wished to reclaim. The more Alexander read, the more he was drawn into a series of vivid flashbacks. He could see the two of them together again, the soft glow of dusk, casting romantic shadows on their faces, the gentle rustling of leaves in a secret garden where they had once confessed their deepest dreams. In these memories, Celeste's laughter was like a melody that resonated with his soul, and her every word was imbued with a passion that had the power to heal even the most broken of hearts. One particular entry caught his attention, a passage where Celeste described a rainy afternoon when the world outside seemed to weep in unison with her own heart. She had written of sitting by a fogged-up window, watching droplets race down the glass, and feeling a profound connection to Alexander, a man who, despite his formidable success, had managed to make her feel cherished. Her words were tender and raw, exposing vulnerabilities that both pained and captivated him. In that moment, the distance between their past and his present began to blur, and the allure of what they once shared rekindled a flame he thought had long since died. As Alexander immersed himself in Celeste's inner world, he discovered that the attraction between them had not faded with time. It had transformed into something deeper and more enduring. Her diary was a testament to the resilience of love, a love that had survived the erosive forces of neglect and misunderstanding. Every heartfelt admission and every wistful reminiscence stoked the embers of a passion that had been carefully buried beneath layers of regret. In the quiet solitude of his study, Alexander found himself smiling at the memory of her playful teasing and the way her eyes had sparkled with mischief during their secret rendezvous. The allure of her spirit, captured so tenderly in ink and paper, made him yearn not just for the woman she had been, but for the chance to rediscover the essence of who she was and, perhaps, to reclaim a part of himself that had been lost along the way. In that sacred moment of reflection, Alexander realized that the diary was more than a relic of the past. It was an invitation to change the future. Celeste's story, with all its beauty and heartbreak, was a mirror reflecting his own hidden longings. The pages revealed that true wealth was not measured by the grandeur of one's possessions, but by the richness of one's emotions and the courage to love again. Determined to honor the legacy of their once shared love, Alexander vowed to reach out to Celeste, not as the millionaire defined by his success, but as a man reborn through the rediscovery of genuine connection. He resolved to bridge the chasm that had grown between them, to heal old wounds with compassion, and to reignite the spark that had once burned so brilliantly between them. As the night deepened and the soft glow of a solitary lamp illuminated the room, Alexander closed the diary gently, as though sealing a promise. The whispers from the past had stirred his soul, urging him to embrace the vulnerability and passion that lay dormant within. In that quiet, transformative moment, he understood that the journey to reclaim love was not just about revisiting old memories. It was about creating new ones, forged in the fire of deep emotion, sincere attraction, and an unwavering desire to heal together. The discovery of Celeste's diary had set something in motion that Alexander could no longer ignore, a powerful yearning to reconnect with the woman whose memory had always haunted the quiet corridors of his heart. Determined to bridge the gap between his gilded existence and the raw truth of their past, he embarked on a quest that would take him far beyond the glittering facades of boardrooms and high society. Each morning, as dawn broke over the sprawling city, Alexander found himself leaving behind the familiar luxuries of his mansion to wander streets where time seemed to have slowed. The vibrant neighborhoods, marked by their modest storefronts and the scent of fresh morning bread, were a world away from his own. Yet, within these winding alleys and sunlit markets, he sensed whispers of a life that Celeste might now call home. Every step he took was a step into vulnerability. With each unfamiliar corner, Alexander wrestled with the emotions that surged inside him, remorse for lost moments, a longing to mend old wounds, and a hope that maybe, just maybe, the love they once nurtured could still be revived. His heart, once armored by success and isolation, now beat with an urgency that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Guided by subtle hints, a mention in a local cafe, a familiar face from the past in a neighborhood park, Alexander pieced together fragments of Celeste's new life. He learned of a modest community centre where art and creativity still blossomed, and where Celeste had been seen, quietly helping others rediscover their own dreams. The thought of her amidst those humble surroundings stirred a bittersweet mix of admiration and sorrow within him. Every lead was a reminder of how far she had fallen from the life they once dreamed about together, a life filled with whispered promises and shared adventures. Yet, instead of bitterness, Alexander felt a deep, empathetic pull. He realized that the woman who had once captured his heart was not lost forever. She had simply taken a different path, a path marked by hardship but also resilience. This revelation only deepened his resolve. One chilly evening, under a sky streaked with the hues of sunset, Alexander stood before the unassuming entrance of the community centre. His heart pounded as he hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. The building was alive with soft chatter and the gentle hum of creativity, a stark contrast to the sterile efficiency of his corporate world. In a corner of the centre, beneath a cascade of warm golden light, he saw her. Celeste was surrounded by a group of local artists, her hands skillfully guiding them through a painting session. Time seemed to slow as their eyes met. In that charged moment, all the years of separation and silence melted away, replaced by an overwhelming recognition that transcended words. For Celeste, the sight of Alexander was both startling and strangely comforting. The man before her bore the marks of transformation, a softness in his gaze and an openness in his smile that hinted at regret and hope intertwined. Their eyes locked, and an unspoken conversation began, rich with emotions too deep for simple language. Unable to contain the torrent of emotions, Alexander slowly approached, each step weighted with anticipation. The space between them, though only a few paces, felt vast with the memories of a shared past and the promise of a renewed future. When he finally stood beside her, the air was thick with a fragile intimacy that spoke of both old wounds and fresh beginnings. "Celeste," he began, his voice soft and laden with emotion, "I've searched for you in every corner of my heart and this city. I'm sorry for every moment I let slip away, for every time I failed to see the truth in your eyes." His words, raw and sincere, resonated in the quiet space between them. Celeste's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. For so long she had built walls around her heart, protecting herself from a world that had once forsaken her. Now, faced with the vulnerability of Alexander's confession, those walls trembled. "I never stopped hoping," she replied in a hushed tone, her voice barely more than a whisper, "that one day someone would understand the real me, the woman behind all the pain and the forgotten dreams." In that moment, the magnetism of their past intertwined with the promise of a new beginning. Their reunion was not a grand spectacle, but a quiet, tender collision of souls. Two people who had lived through love and loss, now given the chance to embrace a future defined not by their scars, but by the possibility of healing. They retreated to a secluded corner of the centre, a small nook adorned with vibrant paintings and soft, inviting cushions. There, amid the gentle murmur of the evening and the soft glow of lamps, they talked for hours. Every word exchanged was laden with the deep emotions of regret, longing, and an undeniable attraction that defied time. Alexander recounted the loneliness of his opulent existence, how the vast halls of his mansion echoed with memories of a love that had once been his anchor. Celeste, in turn, shared the quiet struggle of finding hope in a world that had all but forgotten her. Their conversation, unburdened by pretense, was a dance of raw honesty, a mutual recognition of the beauty and tragedy that life had etched into their souls. As they spoke, the space between them shrank, replaced by a palpable warmth. Their hands found each other, hesitant at first, then with growing certainty. In that simple act of touch, centuries of separation dissolved into the present, a moment where every emotion, every memory, and every unspoken promise converged in a silent embrace. The spark of attraction that had once ignited their youth now blazed anew, tempered by experience and the wisdom of hearts that had known both loss and redemption. Under the soft radiance of the community centre's light, as the night gently unfolded around them, Alexander and Celeste made a silent vow. They would not let the past be a chain that bound them, but rather a foundation upon which to rebuild their lives. Together they promised to embrace the vulnerability of love, to let the deep emotions, the unyielding attraction, and the quiet romance of their reunion guide them toward a future where forgiveness and passion reigned supreme. In that fragile, luminous moment, the scars of their past transformed into the roadmap for a renewed journey. The quest to find each other had been long and fraught with sorrow, but it had also led them to a place of profound understanding and the promise of a love that was deeper, richer, and more resilient than ever before. Thus, with hearts open and souls intertwined, Alexander and Celeste stood at the threshold of a new beginning, a beginning where every step was imbued with the promise of healing, every touch was a testament to a rekindled flame, and every whispered word was an invitation to embrace a future defined by genuine connection and unwavering love. In the wake of their long-awaited reunion, Alexander and Celeste found themselves standing at the crossroads of memory and possibility, a fragile threshold where the past's lingering shadows could finally give way to a future lit by forgiveness, healing, and renewed passion. The days that followed their tender reunion were painted with the soft hues of morning light and quiet introspection. Alexander, once a man encased in the icy perfection of success, now discovered the liberating warmth of vulnerability. Each morning, he awoke with a renewed purpose, a desire to bridge the gap between the man he had become and the soul he had once known so intimately in Celeste. Their conversations, held over cups of herbal tea in the calm of a modest apartment tucked away from the relentless clamour of the city, became a daily ritual of healing. Celeste, too, began to unburden herself from the weight of her solitary past. With every word spoken, every tear silently shed, she learned to trust again, that the scars of yesterday could be the very maps guiding them toward a more authentic tomorrow. In these gentle exchanges, their hearts rediscovered the language of forgiveness and hope, turning whispered regrets into seeds of transformation. One crisp evening, as a soft rain tapped against the windowpane, the pair sat side by side on a time-worn balcony overlooking the quiet streets below. The world around them had softened into a serene symphony of raindrops and distant city sounds, a private universe where only their shared heartbeat mattered. In the dim glow of a single lantern, Alexander reached out, his fingers trembling as they sought the warmth of Celeste's hand. "I've spent years lost in a maze of accomplishments," he murmured, his voice thick with remorse and longing. "But I now see that all the triumphs in the world are meaningless without the tenderness we once shared." His eyes, moist with unspoken sorrow, searched hers for an answer, for reassurance that redemption was possible. Celeste's gaze, steady and compassionate, met his. "Every day without you was a day I feared my heart would cease to hope," she confessed softly. "I believed I had been forgotten, not just by the world, but by myself. Yet here, in this moment, I see a reflection of the love I thought was lost." The simplicity of her words, imbued with both regret and resilience, wove a spell that mended the fragile bridge between them. In that quiet communion of souls, every touch, every sigh, was a step toward reclaiming the lost parts of their beings. The gentle pressure of their intertwined hands spoke louder than any declaration. It was the promise that they would walk this arduous path of healing together, one tender step at a time. Their journey of reconnection was not marked by grand gestures, but by the intimacy of shared moments. A secret walk through a moonlit park, the spontaneous laughter that erupted over a cherished memory, or the silent understanding during long drives through the city's quiet back streets. Each of these moments served as a brushstroke on the canvas of their renewed love, painting a picture of a future where vulnerability and strength coexisted. During one such walk along a cobblestone path lined with blossoming cherry trees, Alexander paused to absorb the beauty of the scene. The petals, delicate and fleeting, danced around them like the echoes of old promises. "I once measured my life in dollars and accolades," he said quietly. "But now I measure it in the moments that take my breath away. Moments like this, when I see you and feel the weight of every lost year finally begin to lift." Celeste smiled, a wistful curve of lips that held both joy and the residue of past pain. "Our journey is like these petals," she whispered, "fragile, transient, yet capable of transforming the landscape of our hearts if we let them." In that exchange, the universe seemed to conspire in their favour, an unspoken affirmation that every hardship they had endured was but a prelude to the beauty of their rebirth. As the weeks melted into months, the space between Alexander and Celeste grew ever smaller. Their shared vulnerability nurtured a love reborn, one that was tender and raw, unburdened by the ego or the expectations of a society that once measured them by wealth or past failures. Instead, their bond was defined by an honest reckoning with their shared history and a fervent hope for a future rebuilt on empathy and mutual respect. Late one starry night, in the quiet sanctuary of Celeste's humble living room, they sat close together, their heads bowed over a journal in which they began chronicling their new journey. Alexander's hand brushed against Celeste's as they turned the pages together, the touch a silent vow of solidarity and renewal. "We have the power to rewrite our story," he murmured, "to transform every tear into a lesson and every sorrow into a stepping stone toward the love we deserve." Celeste's eyes shone with unshed tears of gratitude. "And every scar will be a testament to our resilience," she replied. "I am learning that forgiveness isn't just for the past, it's the light that will guide us into the future." In that intimate moment, beneath a canopy of stars visible through the window, they embraced the truth that love, when nurtured with understanding and tender care, could heal even the deepest wounds. Their hearts, once fractured by time and regret, began to beat in synchrony, a gentle, steady rhythm that promised redemption and endless possibility. Their journey of redemption and reconnection was a quiet revolution, a testament to the idea that even those who have been broken and forgotten can find their way back to a love that is both transformative and eternal. Each day, as the light of a new dawn spilled over the horizon, Alexander and Celeste moved further away from the ghosts of their past and closer to a future built on genuine connection. They continued to nurture their bond through simple acts of kindness, a handwritten note left on a bedside table, a shared laugh over an old memory, or a quiet dinner by candlelight that needed no grand declarations, only the honest truth of two souls that had found their way home. With each passing moment, their once disparate worlds merged into one, where the beauty of their rekindled love shone brighter than any material achievement ever could. In the soft glow of that shared promise, they embraced a future unburdened by the weight of bygone regrets, ready to create new memories filled with passion, understanding, and an everlasting romance. Their journey was far from over, but in that very moment, every heartbeat echoed the truth that love, however lost, could always be rediscovered, and in its rediscovery, both healing and eternal passion await. Thus, in the quiet intimacy of forgiveness and the soft murmur of shared dreams, Alexander and Celeste embarked on a journey that transcended the trials of the past, a journey where every step, every gentle touch, and every heartfelt confession paved the way toward a future illuminated by the deep, enduring light of love. In the weeks that followed their heartfelt reunion, Alexander and Celeste found themselves enveloped in a profound transformation, one that touched every facet of their lives and reverberated through both their inner worlds and the society they now embraced together. Late one evening, as the city lights shimmered like scattered jewels across the skyline, Alexander sat quietly in his study. No longer was he the man whose world was defined solely by wealth and accolades. Instead, his heart now pulsed with the tender memories of shared confessions and rediscovered passion. Each whispered word from Celeste, every moment of vulnerability they had shared, had ignited a change within him, a slow but undeniable transformation of his inner self. He remembered the nights when he once stared at a portrait of his success, feeling emptiness seep through the cracks of his soul. Now his eyes shone with new light, an awareness that true fulfillment lay in the courage to be vulnerable, in the willingness to let love and forgiveness shape his destiny. With each sunrise, Alexander felt his guarded exterior melt away, replaced by a soft sincerity that invited both joy and sorrow. His journal became a sanctuary for his confessions as he carefully penned down the evolution of his heart, a testament to the beauty of becoming, rather than simply having. Celeste, too, blossomed in ways that transformed not just her spirit, but the lives of those around her. In the quiet hours of the morning, when the world was still steeped in dreams, she would sit by her window and trace the lines of hope that now adorned her face. The scars of the past, once symbols of pain and neglect, had transformed into delicate reminders of her resilience. Her laughter, once tempered by sorrow, now danced with a renewed brightness that seemed to breathe life into every room she entered. Together, they began to explore the simple yet profound pleasures of shared living. They cooked meals infused with the spices of their memories, walked hand in hand along moonlit streets, and sat in silent contemplation beneath the starlight. Every gesture, every smile was a quiet affirmation of their commitment to healing, not just as individuals, but as a united force capable of transforming the very essence of love. Their personal transformations soon spilled over into the realm of the community. Alexander redirected his focus from relentless corporate pursuits to building a legacy of compassion. Boardroom meetings became forums for social innovation, where discussions of profit were interwoven with ideas of community upliftment and creative expression. Celeste, with her gentle wisdom and artistic flair, became the heart of local initiatives, organizing art therapy sessions, mentoring aspiring artists, and fostering a network of care for those once overlooked by society. At community events, their presence was magnetic. The couple, hand in hand, radiated an intimacy that spoke of battles fought and hearts mended. Their love was a living reminder that no matter how deeply one might be wounded, the human spirit always yearns for connection, for the tender embrace of understanding and support. In every shared conversation and every act of kindness, they rewrote the narrative of what it meant to be truly rich, a wealth measured not by bank balances, but by the immeasurable currency of love, empathy, and resilience. In the quiet sanctuary of a softly lit room, where the fragrance of fresh roses mingled with the gentle hum of a late-night melody, Alexander and Celeste discovered that their renewed connection brought with it a passion, both familiar and breathtakingly new. As they sat side by side on an aged sofa, the delicate touch of their intertwined fingers served as a silent promise, a vow that the love they were rediscovering would never again be taken for granted. Their evenings became a celebration of shared dreams and tender confessions. Over a glass of aged wine, Alexander would speak of his newfound understanding of what it meant to live fully, while Celeste, her eyes glistening with hope, recounted the small wonders that had rekindled her spirit. Every word was wrapped in vulnerability and trust, every laugh a testimony to a love that had been forged in the crucible of adversity. In those moments, Attraction was not merely physical. It was an alchemy of souls, a meeting of hearts that had weathered storms and emerged with a deeper, more enduring flame. As the seasons turned and the days grew longer with the promise of summer, Alexander and Celeste embraced a future replete with both challenges and tender possibilities. They stood on the threshold of a new chapter, where every sunrise was a canvas for hope and every shared dusk a quiet celebration of resilience. Their journey of transformation had taught them that love, when nurtured with honesty and compassion, could transcend the harshest realities and heal the deepest wounds. Together, they vowed to continue building a life where every moment was cherished, every touch was sacred, and every memory was a stepping stone toward a tomorrow filled with promise. In the soft glow of that promise, as their eyes met in silent understanding, Alexander and Celeste knew that the true essence of their transformation lay not in what they had lost, but in what they had found, a profound, unyielding love that would guide them forever. In this phase of their journey, the transformation was not merely about rediscovering each other. It was about transforming the very fabric of their lives. Deep emotions intertwined with a magnetic attraction had forged a new beginning, a renewal of hope, a rebirth of passion, and a future where love reigned supreme over all. In the gentle lull after their transformation, a storm began to brew, a test of their renewed love that would challenge every tender bond they had painstakingly rebuilt. The world outside, with its unforgiving glare of media scrutiny and harsh judgment, was about to force Alexander and Celeste into confronting the shadows of their past and the vulnerabilities of their present. It started with whispers and subtle glances at high society events, where Alexander's once revered name now stirred murmurs of scandal. Rumours spun like fragile threads of deceit questioned the legitimacy of his newfound compassion. Every headline that splashed his transformation across tabloids was a reminder of the relentless world he had tried so desperately to leave behind. Yet, the real test lay not in the public's opinions, but in the silent spaces between him and Celeste. One fateful evening, amidst a lavish charity gala, a world away from the humble intimacy they had come to cherish, Alexander found himself cornered by doubting voices. In the midst of clinking glasses and calculated pleasantries, a subtle comment from an influential guest struck a nerve. The insinuation that his altruism was merely a facade, a desperate attempt to reclaim lost glory, sent a shiver of betrayal through him. His heart pounded not just with indignation, but with a raw, familiar ache of abandonment, the same sting he had once inflicted upon Celeste. Later that night, in the solitude of his private suite, Alexander wrestled with a torrent of emotions. The glamorous surroundings felt suddenly empty, and his mind raced back to the gentle promises shared with Celeste over countless quiet evenings. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door, a presence he recognized instantly. Celeste stepped in, her eyes reflecting both concern and the deep vulnerability of a wounded heart. "Alexander," she whispered, her voice trembling as if weighed down by every unspoken sorrow. "I've heard what they're saying, and I can see it's hurting you." Her words, tender yet laced with an unyielding strength, resonated with him. In that moment, the distance that had been carved by external pressures began to close. Their conversation unfolded slowly, each word an invitation to heal. Alexander's admission of the sting of public scrutiny and the ghosts of his past missteps was met with Celeste's unwavering empathy. "I once felt forgotten, my spirit lost in the shadows of doubt," she murmured, reaching out to gently touch his hand. "But I chose to believe that our love, however fragile, is worth every battle we must face." In the quiet aftermath of the heated exchange, their emotions wove together in a tapestry of raw honesty. Under the soft illumination of a bedside lamp, They laid bare the insecurities that had crept into their hearts. Alexander's eyes, glistening with unshed tears, met Celeste's with an intensity that belied his usually confident demeanour. "I fear," he confessed, voice barely above a whisper, "that the world's doubt might shatter what we've built, that all these scars, our shared past, will be exploited to diminish the love we've rediscovered." Celeste's gaze softened, and with a courage that came from a lifetime of surviving heartache, she drew him closer. "Every scar tells our story," she replied, her voice a soothing balm against the harshness of his fears. "They are not marks of weakness, but emblems of our strength, proof that we survived the darkest nights. Let them remind us of our resilience, not our failures." In that intimate exchange, their vulnerabilities transformed into a shared promise, a vow to face the relentless world together. As dawn crept over the horizon, casting gentle light into the room, the tension between them began to ebb, replaced by the warmth of rediscovered passion. In the fragile silence of early morning, Alexander took Celeste's hand, their fingers interlacing as if sealing an unbreakable pact. The world outside might rage with cynicism and doubt, but here, in the quiet intimacy of their embrace, the promise of true love shone brighter than any headline. They moved together with a renewed intensity, every tender kiss a reaffirmation of their bond, every caress a silent testament to the depths of their affection. In that sacred space, the chaos of the outside world was distilled into a single potent truth. Their love, though tested by the harsh winds of public opinion and inner demons, was resilient enough to withstand every trial. Over a shared breakfast, bathed in soft morning light, they planned the days ahead, not to retreat from the world's judgment, but to meet it head-on with the unyielding power of their union. "Let our love be the lighthouse in this storm," Alexander murmured, his voice imbued with determination and tenderness. Celeste nodded, her eyes reflecting both the softness of a healing heart and the fierce promise of a future built on trust and mutual respect. In the wake of that turbulent night, Alexander and Celeste emerged not unscathed, but stronger, each trial a crucible that forged their connection into something enduring and transformative. The shadows of doubt had only served to illuminate the brilliance of their renewed commitment. With every shared smile and every lingering gaze, they silently vowed to hold on to the love that had been reborn in the crucible of their vulnerabilities. Thus, in the midst of adversity, amidst whispers of condemnation and the weight of past regrets, their hearts beat as one, a steadfast rhythm of passion, resilience, and unwavering attraction. The ultimate test had passed, not by erasing the pain, but by transforming it into a reminder that true love is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to embrace it together. In that transcendent moment, Alexander and Celeste reaffirmed that even the fiercest storms can give way to the calm of a shared, unyielding love, a love that thrives on deep emotion, raw attraction, and the intimate promise of tomorrow. In the tender glow of a new dawn, as the remnants of the past melted into memories and the future shimmered with the light of possibility, Alexander and Celeste embraced the promise of a life reimagined, a life where love had been reborn through trials, healing, and the unyielding strength of two intertwined souls. One soft morning, when the city was bathed in a gentle golden light, the couple found themselves walking hand in hand along a quiet, tree-lined boulevard. The world around them was awakening, a symphony of birdsong and the delicate rustle of leaves stirred by a warm breeze. For Alexander, every step was a reminder of how far he had come, from a lonely, opulent existence defined solely by material success to a life enriched by the soulful intimacy he now shared with Celeste. As they strolled side by side, the silence between them was not empty, but filled with the quiet language of love. a language spoken in glances, in the tender squeeze of a hand, in the shared smiles that said more than words ever could. Each moment felt sacred, a promise that the love they had rebuilt was not a mere spark, but a blazing beacon of hope, illuminating a future where every heartbeat was a testament to their resilience and passion. In the haven of their modest home, transformed now into a sanctuary of creativity and warmth, the couple nurtured dreams that had once seemed lost to the harsh realities of their past. Together they painted their future in vibrant hues, walls adorned with art that told stories of redemption, shelves lined with books that carried whispers of hope, and a garden where each bloom echoed the beauty of second chances. Late one evening, beneath a sky strewn with countless stars, they sat on a weathered porch swing. The soft creaking of the swing, the cool whisper of the night air, and the distant hum of the sleeping city formed a cocoon of intimacy around them. Alexander turned to Celeste, his eyes reflecting the depth of emotions that had blossomed within him. "Every day with you," he murmured, voice husky with both wonder and gratitude, "reminds me that true wealth isn't in the riches of this world. It's in the wealth of our shared moments, the love we nurture, and the hope we hold for tomorrow." Celeste's response was a gentle smile, her eyes shimmering with tears of joy and remembrance. "Our love," she whispered, "has been forged through fire and tempered by time. It is the one truth that has carried us through the darkest nights and promised us a sunrise filled with endless possibility." In that moment, their souls communicated a silent vow, a vow to honor the beauty of their past while eagerly embracing the promise of a bright, shared future. As seasons turned and the days grew richer with the fragrance of blossoming hope, Alexander and Celeste learned that true romance is not found in grand declarations, but in the delicate, everyday acts of care and connection. Mornings began with soft kisses exchanged in the quiet intimacy of their bedroom, and evenings ended with heartfelt conversations under the tender glow of lamplight. Their love was a dance, an elegant interplay of vulnerability and strength. With every touch, every lingering embrace, they rewrote the narrative of their lives. The passion that had once ignited in stolen moments now blazed forth in the certainty of shared dreams and the mutual understanding that even the deepest scars could be healed by the balm of compassion and trust. There were nights when, beneath the vast expanse of a starlit sky, they would lie side by side, their fingers intertwined as if weaving a tapestry of promises. In those quiet hours, the world around them faded into insignificance, leaving only the rhythmic beating of their hearts, each beat a reminder that the love they had reclaimed was eternal, transcending every trial and every tear that had come before. In the days that followed, every moment became a page in a new chapter, a chapter filled with the soft murmur of shared laughter, the spark of unspoken understanding, and the magnetic pull of two hearts that had found their way back to each other. The journey of redemption and renewal had not erased the past, but it had transformed every painful memory into a stepping stone toward a love that was both profound and enduring. Together, Alexander and Celeste planned a future that was not dictated by the judgments of the world, but by the quiet certainties of their hearts. They envisioned a life of purpose and creativity, of community and quiet revolution, where every act of kindness, every gesture of love, built a legacy far richer than any fortune amassed. In that promise for tomorrow, they saw the culmination of their shared journey, a testament to the truth that even in a world marred by loss and regret, love could bloom with a vibrancy that defied all odds. And so, beneath the ever-watchful stars and in the gentle light of each new day, their love endured, a radiant, timeless flame that promised to guide them forever. Their hearts, once lost in the shadows of doubt, now beat as one in a harmony so deep and pure that it could only be the echo of a promise fulfilled. That love, when nurtured with honesty, passion, and unwavering trust, would forever be the guiding light in the tapestry of life. In this final transformative chapter, the promise of tomorrow shone brighter than ever, a luminous future where every moment was imbued with deep emotion, magnetic attraction, and the unyielding romance of two souls united against all odds.